Hey y'all, it's my review for The Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip Season 3, Episodes 4 and 5. Yes, I know that Episode 6 came out today, but I will get to it when I can. Anyway, let's get to it. So the episode opens, it is day 4 in Thailand, and the ladies are told that today is Porsha's day and she'll be curating the activities. It's going to be a Thai barbecue. So meanwhile, we're with Frickin' Frack 2.0, Gizelle and Porsha, they're kikiing. We then cut to Candiace talking to Leah. She's seeing how she's doing because the previous day, she was getting it from all sides. And if you ask me, she deserved it. In Candiace's confessional, she says she's tired of the drama. And I'm like, it's only day 4. Don't they stay out there for like, what, 7, 8 days? You got a long way to go. Production then shows us a flashback of the chaos. And then Candiace says it feels like she's on a soap opera. And then production, they start doing a real, kind of like similar to like The Young and the Restless with all the cast members like turning around doing this. I'm glad they have a sense of humor. Because at the end of the day, it's a very unserious show. That's why I be wondering, like, why do people take this so seriously? It's meant to be foolishness, and that's why we get a kick out of it. So next scene, we see the ladies downstairs having breakfast, and Leah's assuring everyone that she's okay, because again, she got it the other day. Heather is now talking about her relationship with Whitney. Their friendship probably blew up again, and I don't care. We see Porsha comes downstairs and she tells the ladies that because of the weather, they have to cancel the excursions. Now, it seems like the weather just isn't on the ladies' side, but when I went to Phuket, like the rain is just off and on, off and on. You just gotta catch those hours of the day where the weather is nice. So instead, they're just gonna stay at the property, get massages, and play messy ass games. We then see the only two ladies that's not downstairs with everybody is Candiace and Whitney. I mean, Candiace, she's probably just putting on her makeup because it takes her like 3-4 hours to do that. I mean, it's a good job, it's a good beat, but you know, damn, like who you trying to impress that early in the morning? Well, if I was on camera, I would probably want to look my best too at all times. So I'll give that to her. But Whitney, she's on FaceTime with Lisa Barlow, who I'm sure is pissed that she wasn't asked to be on Girls Trip. But Whitney is complaining to her about Heather, and like I said, I don't care. Whitney, get into it with somebody else, and then maybe I will. Speaking of Heather, we cut to her talking to Porsha about her relationship with Whitney. And Porsha just giving her some encouraging words like that's your cousin, y'all gonna make up eventually. And then Heather's talking about the book situation and she tells Porsha that she didn't even apply to get her name off the Mormon registry. Porsha's taken aback by this because it seemed like Heather is lying. And you know what? She probably is. And like I said, she's friends with Jen Shaw, so birds of a feather. For the few of you that did watch all 3 seasons of Salt Lake City, it's starting to look like Heather is presenting a person that she's not, and she's really actually conniving and calculated behind the scenes. Quick side note, is Porsha eating KFC again? Like, I get one time, but twice is not necessary because the food in Thailand is bomb. So later on, the activities begin, starting with the massages, and there's a whole lot of moaning going on. Apparently some vaginas were being touched, and Porsha said she wants her money back because hers wasn't. Do y'all know I've never had a massage? Well, professionally, I've never had a massage before. I really need to treat myself one of these days. Also, I think it needs to be done by a man with strong hands. After that, there's some downtime for the ladies, and we're with Gizelle and Heather, and not Gizelle messy ass trying to get Heather to FaceTime Jen Shaw. After all the shit she said in her confessional, calling her a criminal, she's really working overtime to be a producer. Like, production, y'all need to do y'all jobs and stop depending on neck. We cut to Gizelle in her confessional, again being a mess, asking if Jen Shaw will be able to get Twitter in jail. I do think you can get social media in jail these days. I mean, especially the minimum security prison that she's at. She ain't shit. But they're saying as they're FaceTiming Jen that it's probably like 2 in the morning by her, but Heather's still gonna call her. I think the hour difference between Thailand and the States is like 11 or 12 hours. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but Jen doesn't answer, thankfully. But you know, on second thought, that probably would have been a good messy scene. Missed opportunity. So next scene, the ladies go on the outside deck for Porsha's Thai barbecue. And what it actually is like where you cook your own food, like at the Korean barbecue places. We then see Candiace and Porsha getting along for the most part. We cut to Candiace's confessional, and she said it was her intention to get along with Porsha on this trip to shock everybody. Now, I find that hard to believe because, like I said, Candiace came for Porsha first with the drag name and shading her on how she got her husband. So as all the ladies are seated at the table, Candiace takes this time to address Porsha directly about her comments about Monique. Now, this happened a long time ago, but I knew she was going to address it. Like, I'm pretty sure production even told her to address it to Porsha. Before she even, starts talking about it to Porsha, she gets that tissue out, like, I just want to talk about it. I just want to. We cut to Porsha's confessional, and oh my God, she is gold. She is gold. She's like, she takes this exaggerated long tissue and is like, girl, Candiace started crying already, just no tear left behind. She will get every tear walking down her cheek. I was hollering. I know y'all were too, even the ones that don't like Porsha. It was literally this long, y'all. No tear left behind. I'ma stop. But I agree with Porsha in this moment. Like, Candiace, the way she addressed people, she's either crying or cussing at them. So Candiace said her concern wasn't her fight with Monique, but the aftermath. Now, I remember, when it happened, everyone took to Twitter, and there was this narrative going on that it was Candiace that started the fight. But then when we saw the season, we could see that both ladies were at fault. Now, this is where opinions differ. I believe it was both of their faults that the fight happened. It is what it is. Anyway, she gets to Porsha saying her opinion, but this wasn't during, before the season aired. This was, I think, was it during or afterward when they had this Bravo chat room? She definitely remembers Porsha took Monique's side. A lot of people did. And she tells us that she remembers what she said, that she was suing Monique so she could put a down payment on her mom's house. Now, Porsha didn't say that, and production ran the footage from that episode. She said that Monique said that. So she's mad that she didn't have a platform to say her story. But then Gizelle chimes in and says, well, I had your back, right? And that's one thing I agree with Gizelle on. Gizelle definitely had Candiace's back. Anytime they talked about the Monique versus Candiace situation, she was on Candiace's side. Now, she was on Candiace's side out of spite to Monique. It doesn't matter. She was on Candiace's side. She was riding for her. Monique wasn't on the show, so why would Candiace think that she could be on the show as a guest? That's what I got from the argument, but I think she wants an apology from Porsha. In my opinion, Porsha was just reporting what Monique said, and then she said she was on Monique's side. That doesn't really constitute for an apology. That's just like me and Alex reporting what Monique said, and then, saying whose side we're on. The Bravo chat room show wasn't that serious to me, but clearly Candiace still has this chip on her shoulder. But anyway, when Gizelle chimes in and says that she had Candiace's back, now Candiace and her are going back and forth. Candiace getting loud now. She tells Porsha, you defended that raggedy ass hoe. Monique isn't even talking about Candiace anymore. I just don't understand why does this keep coming up. Just move forward. Get therapy. Something. Because if Monique starts speaking out, then it'd be a problem, right? Anywho, I really don't like how Candiace is misusing the term bully, because I don't think anyone's a bully in this situation. Candiace and Gizelle aren't bullying her. They weren't bullying Leah, to my opinion. Do y'all think that they were bullies to Leah in the last episode? Please let me know in the comments, because I disagree. Leah brought that on herself. Telling the ladies, can y'all get drunk or something? Y'all are boring me. Leah, of all people, trying to call people boring. But at the end of the day, didn't Candiace go to Porsha's wedding? Well, one of her weddings, because Monique went to the other one. So something must have happened. They must have reconciled at some point. So the other ladies start chiming in, and I agree with Marisol. It is a fluff opinion show like Pop Rose. It is not Dateline News. And speaking of that, I'm going to need Porsha to stop saying that she's a journalist. Please, Porsha. I'll ride with you on certain things, but stop saying that you're a journalist. But thank God this conversation ends. They get to playing the games. I don't want to hear Monique's name on this show anymore. So the first game they decide to play is a tie game that is similar to volleyball. But the added twist to it is Porsha has like all these elephant suits that the ladies have to wear. And she put them in teams according to their franchise. And since Porsha and Leah, the only ones from different franchises, they're on one team together. And Porsha says, oh, I came up with the team name for us. Poor Leah. That was shade. I will agree. That was shade on Porsha's part. Now, were there other names Porsha could have did? I think so. Like, let me think. Leia, Porsha, Laisha. But look, I wouldn't put it past production. They probably gave that name to Porsha to say. So after that, fast forward to an eating game, and then they get to a truth-telling game where the twist is, if you don't want to tell the truth, then you have to eat a scorpion. Look, you can ask me anything. I am an open book. I feel like there's nothing on television I wouldn't say. Because y'all know, well, if you don't know, I'm a very picky eater. Very picky. Like, I don't eat ice cream. I don't eat chocolate. And that's just at the top of the long, long list. So for me to eat a scorpion, like, I'm trying to think, like, what could somebody ask me? Like, when did I lose my virginity? 21. What else? What celebrity would I bang? Like, look, I'll keep going. Like, who do I hate at the table? I hate her. I was about to say a Candiace joke, but y'all actually think that I hate Candiace. But anyway, the first person to eat a scorpion is Leah, because the question asked to her is, who does she think on her franchise, well, her season, shouldn't come back if it's rebooted? She should have just said herself, but she really didn't want to say a name, and we all know she probably wanted to say Ebony, so she eats the scorpion. Next person to eat a scorpion is Whitney, who's asked to say 3 lies that Heather has said on camera. That would have been easy, but in Whitney's mind, she wants to show her loyalty to Heather. So she eats the scorpion, but Heather isn't impressed. And speaking of Heather, she's next to eat a scorpion because she's a liar. She's asked, how did you get the black eye? So she eats that scorpion immediately. But then Porsha says, oh, so you do know what happened to your black eye because you said you didn't know how you got it. Look, Jen Shah punched her in the fucking eye, and that is the truth until I hear otherwise. So lastly, we see Marisol being asked, who at this table does she trust the least? Marisol ain't never scared. She points at Leah, and Leah's like, okay. So after the game is over, Gizelle takes over, and she tells the ladies that they have 45 minutes to get dressed because she's having a Mardi Gras themed event in Thailand. I'm sorry, if I were the ladies, I would be tired at this point, but then I remember that they're being paid to go on a luxurious vacation. So yeah, they chop to it. We see them all getting dressed. Most of them are in Mardi Gras colors and following the assignment. Some of them are wearing black, and look, what Leah is wearing, doesn't she work in fashion? She should not be looking like that, but she looks a hot mess. From Gizelle's confessional, she seems very excited to share the New Orleans culture with the other ladies. She says her family's from New Orleans. And, of course, as a New Orleanian myself, I'm very intrigued on how this plays out. Also, I forgot to mention that it looks like the Miami girls are getting a little tired of each other because they're staying in close quarters. I'm not sure if they're sharing the same room, but I could totally see it. Like, it looks like on Miami, they're normally like traveling, but they have their own separate rooms. Actually being together in a room with somebody you're traveling with, look, I've been there. They can start to get on your nerves, especially if they snore. And I'm saying that as the person that snores, it's usually me. So in the car ride to the destination, we see Porsha expressing her frustration about Candiace to Gizelle. And I agree with her. It just seemed like Candiace is trying to have a situation with Porsha and like poking her because, look, if Porsha, go upside Candiace's head, then it's Portia's fault, right? So anyway, then Gizelle starts talking about the Chris situation, and that's where my support stops because Gizelle, you wrong as hell for that. And you deserve every bit of insults that Candiace gave to you. Well, except one of them, but yeah, you deserve that either she gave you at the reunion. So the ladies arrive at the destination, and it's basically a luxury hotel where they're having a private party. They could have just did this at the house. As they're all sitting down for dinner, I'm just wondering, like, how authentic can this New Orleans menu be in Thailand? Like, I live in New York, and sometimes it's hard to recreate New Orleans recipes that I know. Gizelle's now giving her New Orleans history lesson to the ladies. She's talking about a king cake, and I know for a fact they did not recreate a king cake correctly in Thailand. We shall see. It starts to rain again, and this Thailand weather just really ain't on the ladies' side. So they go inside the hotel, but before that, Gizelle teaches them how to second line. Damn, I haven't second line in so long. I miss my city. When they get inside, we see the setup as well as the king cake, and y'all, that is basically a bundt cake with sprinkles and frosting on it. We get to the beignets, and those actually look accurate, but I think I'm the only New Orleanian that really doesn't care for beignets like that. Like, I'd rather just have a Krispy Kreme donut. As the ladies are seated, Gizelle starts playing her reasonably shady game that they did on Potomac, and it's inspired from her and Robin's podcast. Basically what it is, she brings up a bunch of shady situations that she knows the group is going through, and they all vote on it, whether it's reasonable or shady. So she starts the game with a few shady instances amongst the group, but then we get to the bully topic that, of course, is in reference to what Candiace said about Gizelle and Porsha. And Candiace stands firm and says it's reasonable, and says that Porsha and Gizelle were bullying Leah, which I disagree with. I would love to know what y'all think in the comments. They have a little back and forth, but then they go on to Whitney and Heather. Like, why did they reactivate this beef again? No thank you. The ladies are tired of it. We are tired of it as the audience. Fast forward. Afterwards, the game is over. They dig into that dry-ass king cake and they're all heading home. As they're on their way back to the house, I swear, whatever car Porsha and Gizelle are in, they're using that footage on camera. And now they're talking about Heather and Whitney's weird relationship where they like fight, become friends, fight, become friends. Like, they just think it's weird. And I agree. So then when the ladies get home, we see Whitney going to the confessional, and she actually decides to answer the question that Porsha asked her earlier. Now, she looks a little bit tipsy, so maybe that was the liquid courage she needed. I think a messy producer shoved her in there and guided her to do it. So the three things she said Heather lied about are: she knew how she got the black eye, she was never friends with Lisa Barlow, and she hasn't left the Mormon church. Ooh, this was so shady, and I'm so glad a producer told her to do it. And I'm sure Heather is pissed that she's watching this unfold with the rest of us. And that is where the episode ends. Let's get to episode 5, shall we? So it's day 5, and we open with Pepsi being very giddy to introduce the ladies to kickboxing, because he got 2 instructors to help the ladies. It looks like not that many people are interested, but we see Whitney, Heather, and Leah participating, and it looks like a cute little activity to do. Hell, if anything, I just want the free gear because it actually looks nice. Also, side note, y'all notice how Pepsi was just so happy in the beginning of the episode, and at the very end you see him crying in the confessional? That damn Gizelle. Okay, Whitney, I see you giving Sonya Blade realness. She got those moves down fast. Lord, so we cut to Leah complaining again to Heather this time. She says she has the runs as well as her period. We then cut to the Miami girls in their confessional, and they're just saying they made it to day 5, and these ladies like to talk a lot. Then they're specifically talking about Candiace, how she was yelling at everybody and told everyone to shut the fuck up for 5 minutes. Production shows us, she's like, hello, shut the fuck up. This is right in line how Candiace acts, no surprise here. So later on we find out from Pepsi that he's hosting activities for the day. He's bringing the ladies in town so they can have lunch and shop. We cut to Whitney, who said that she's going to finally put a pin in it with Heather and her arguing. And her and Heather are there to get to know the other ladies. Thank God. A producer must have sat them down and was like, y'all need to cut it the fuck out. Like, it's monotonous and no one gives a shit. Stop it. I'm glad somebody told them, because anytime they argue, fast forward. So next scene, we see Gizelle in the pool, and she's calling over Pepsi, and she shows him the bottle of Clase Adul. She says it's missing. She's recalling that they had it on the yacht, they took it back to the house, they were all having shots, and now it's missing. So this situation took over the entire episode, y'all. We will get into it. But she's asking Pepsi, well, do you think one of the other ladies took it? Now, Pepsi didn't say yes or no. He was just like, and Gizelle prompted him to say yes. So then he shook his head. Like, why would she ask Pepsi? Why don't she just ask production if she knew where it was? Because I think she said it was like on the shelf and somebody took it. Like, there's cameras all in that house. Like, somebody would see it. This is a scheme by Gizelle Bryant to set us up for the bullshit. And Gizelle is dead serious. She wants to know where her bottle is. She said that this was brought specifically for her because all she drinks is tequila. She doesn't drink vodka, wine, etc. Now, I get it, being annoyed by it, but for her to make it this big of a deal, like, girl, the shit retails for like $110, $120. You'll be fine. Besides, there's only 3 days left on the trip. There's other name brand tequilas in Thailand. I know this because I've been there before. Figure it out. So then we cut to Gizelle going to Porsha's room and telling her about the bottle. She says that Pepsi thinks that one of the other ladies took it, which we know is a lie. She then says during lunchtime, she's going to interrogate all the ladies on who she thinks took it. She is doing too much right now. Production now is in on the wackiness, and now they're putting suspect 1 in caption, then suspect 2, and so on. So then we cut to Heather going to Leah's room. They're talking about the previous evening where they were playing the Reasonably Shady game, and Leah's like, oh, Porsha and Gizelle, they were bullies, and there's still things unresolved between them. So Candiace joins the conversation, and Leah's telling them that Porsha recently posted a picture with all of them at the elephant sanctuary, and everyone's tagged in it except for herself and Candiace, and she feels some type of way about it. Now, the only reason she knows this is because I think someone sent her the picture of it. I think I remember that, and you have the Bravo blogs like saying, oh, she didn't tag this person, so they must be beefing. I mean, it was true, right? And now Leah's saying it's going to cause mess. Now, is it shady? Absolutely. When you cut somebody out a group photo or not tag them, definitely shady. Now, I've done it before. I'm sure we all have. And it's people that we either don't know or we not fucking with. And if I'm the person you're not fucking with, I know we have beef, then I don't expect them to tag me. Like, hell, take me out of it. Put an emoji over my face. I don't care. So I'm just wondering, why do they care? Candiace then chimes in because she doesn't like Porsha. She's saying that, well, Porsha's going to say it's her Instagram. She's going to play dumb. And then she calls her a toxic, petty bitch. Now, is it just me or this beef just feels a little one-sided in Candiace versus Porsha? Like, I feel like Porsha not even concerned with Candiace like that. So next thing, all the ladies are headed to go shopping, and we found out on the next day they're all going to go to the temples. And I will say, when you go to Thailand, seeing the temples is like a must-see. It is beautiful, especially some of them at night. Meanwhile, we see Leah and Candiace explaining what shade is to the Miami girls, and I'm just so fascinated how shade has just become this universal term. So as they arrive to the shopping area, it looks like it's hot as fuck from how the ladies are just fanning themselves. We then see Leah telling some of the ladies that she doesn't feel that great, and in her confessional, she's saying she feels like her insides were burning. Now, that is definitely a cause of concern. Like, she should have said something sooner. So a little time passed by, they're at one of the shops, and then Leah says that she can't feel her legs. She falls right to the floor, and of course the ladies in production come to help her out. We cut to Heather asking everybody, does anyone have any sugar or gum? Marisol said, I don't have any of that, all I have is alcohol. Of course you do, Marisol, of course you do. So as Leah's on the floor panicking, someone suggests that she elevates her legs, to which she immediately says, I'm not wearing any underwear, be careful. Child, Porsha's look of skepticism, and then she says, oh, she's coherent when that happens. Now, to be fair, in a life and death situation, the last thing I'm worried about is my junk showman. Now, I'm not saying that she's faking it, but it is a little weird that that was her immediate concern. Lord, we then cut to Frickin' Frack 2.0 and their confessional together, and they're laughing right now. Porsha's like, why is she on her period and not wearing underwear? Hey, questions that need answers. And she has diarrhea? And I also didn't mean to laugh when Porsha and Gizelle were mocking Leah fainting, like, oh, I'm sorry, it was a little funny, sue me. But thankfully, though, Leah is fine, but they're going to take her home while the other ladies go to lunch. As they're headed to lunch, some of the ladies stop at the weed shop, and it's good to know that weed is legal in Thailand. I did not know that. But whatever you do, do not take it back home with you, and don't arrive with weed in Thailand. Look, I know y'all saw Broke Down Palace. So we're with the other ladies as they're having lunch, and Candiace is the topic of conversation. They're just all agreeing how childish Candiace can be, as well as her tantrums. And if y'all remember, her own husband has called her a brat before, so it's not that far-fetched. So the rest of the ladies arrive at lunch, and Gizelle is now telling them about the stolen bottle of tequila. We then cut to some of the other ladies' confessionals, and they're just saying how ridiculous it is because you can get Clase Azul from anywhere, maybe not in Thailand everywhere, but it's only like $110. Like, why is she so serious about this? Even Candiace says, look, I will send her black ass $100 so she can shut up. Oh, so now Gizelle's black? Sorry, I just couldn't help it. Gizelle's now telling the ladies to their faces who she thinks is a suspect and who isn't. And child, Heather's just excited that she's getting Gizelle's attention. Oh, Heather. Gizelle tells Candiace that she's a suspect because she knows she likes the bottles. Candiace in her confessional, she gives us a flashback to when they all went to Mexico last season. And I thought she took that bottle of tequila at the table, but she actually tells us that production stopped her and yelled at her for trying to steal the bottle and asked her, are you trying to go to Mexican jail? To be fair, she thought, as well as the audience, that they bought all those bottles that were at the table, so I would have tried to bring one of them home too. Gizelle and Candiace are going back and forth now to the point of them yelling at each other and the whole restaurant staring at them. She's like, it's my bottle and I want it now. She even proposes to search the other ladies' rooms. She really need to calm the fuck down. She's making it a bigger matter than what it really is. Like, I get it. Clase Azul is a really good tequila. It's a little expensive. And I understand it's the principle of the situation, but it's not that deep. Anyway, most of the ladies don't have a problem with Gizelle searching their rooms, surprisingly. But Candiace is the only one that has a problem with it, which then makes her suspect number one in Gizelle's eyes. It's just all so stupid. Like, Candiace has no reason to steal a bottle of Clase Azul from Gizelle, especially considering what her husband does for a living. She says this in her confessional, and she also mentions that Gizelle has a long neck and stovepipe legs, and nobody wants those things. The topic changes when Candiace gives an update to the other ladies how Leah's doing, and speaking of Leah, she then decides to confront Porsha on why she didn't tag her or Leah in her last Instagram photo. She actually wants Porsha to explain why she did it, and Porsha's like, the fuck? It's my Instagram. I don't need to explain that to you. And I totally agree. If somebody confronted me about that in front of a group of people, I'm just be like, well, you know what? We're not really on a good page right now, and I didn't want to tag you. It's just that simple. Porsha's like, why does Leah even care? I don't like that girl. That was real. And then Candiace now is trying to make it about, a social media reaction. And Porsha keeps interrupting her. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Candiace then accuses Porsha of cyberbullying, to which the whole table in unison goes, oh Lord. And I agree. Like, she's doing it again. Like, she does these problematic dog whistles so then her fans can react. Can y'all just see how, in this moment, how Candiace is just doing the most? Are y'all Candiace fans willing to put y'all bias to the side just a little bit? It's just such a reach, and all this is stemming from just because that girl didn't tag you in her photo on her Instagram. It's moments like this where I'm glad Porsha has grown because she's not letting Candiace get to her, and it's a little hilarious how she's doing it. She's like, you're reaching. Are you hurt? Somebody get her a tissue. Somebody get her a tissue. The back and forth really makes Candiace look pressed and bothered, and Porsha's asking her, like, why are you so triggered when I talk to you? Like, all you do is just yell and scream at me, and then production is showing the receipts, at least 3 instances where she's yelling. And I get it, she's a loud talker, but she really seems antagonistic when it comes to Porsha. They're now taunting each other, and Porsha's calling Candiace PJ, her daughter, and asking her, do you need a Pedialyte? Somebody give her a Pedialyte. That was a little funny. But thank God, Pepsi comes in and interrupts the ladies and says it's time to go. So then they all leave. They get into these little tuk-tuks. I totally forgot the name of those, and that's what the name of it is. It's like these little mini carts that are like cabs that take you throughout the city. I took a bunch of them in Thailand, and look, there was a roach in mine, and I almost fell out the tuk-tuk. Anyway, we see the ladies in the car. They're having their usual chatter. In one car, we found out that Pepsi has a son and also 4 wives. I wonder if he was kidding. Probably not. And then in the other car, Gizelle is still talking about that goddamn bottle. We see Porsha talking about Candiace, how much she's trying to poke her and trying to get her attention, which I totally agree. Thank God it's not old Porsha, or we probably would have had an altercation. The ladies then get home. We find out that Marisol is in charge of the evening activities, and of course it's involving alcohol. We cut to Candiace going into Leah's room to go check on her. For a small moment, I totally forgot Leah was on the show, honestly. But Candiace is just informing her what happened during lunch. Child, we then cut to Gizelle, who is literally yelling at production to go search Candiace's room. I'm guessing when she texted them at lunch to go search Candiace's room, they didn't do it. So then production suggests that Pepsi searches Candiace's room and her luggage. And I don't think that's a good idea. Like, don't put Pepsi through that. He shouldn't be doing that. If she's so concerned, she could have production kind of monitor Candiace as she's looking through her stuff, even though she shouldn't even have to do that in the first place. We come back to Candiace talking to Leah about how Porsha said she didn't like her. And just like Gizelle, ironically, she adds on a little lie saying that Porsha said fuck her, which she definitely didn't say. Like, they keep dragging this out and it's really not that deep. Especially when it seemed like Porsha couldn't care less what Candiace and Leah say about her. Gizelle then walks into Leah's room pretending to care how she's doing when she's actually looking for Candiace. Before Gizelle can get a word out, Leah starts grilling her about why does Porsha hate her. They're going back and forth when Gizelle says, yeah, that's between you and Porsha. She's there to chastise Candiace about that damn bottle. We cut to Candiace's confessional, and I'll admit she delivered the best line in this episode. She's like, sweetheart, are Jamal Bryant's alimony checks not clearing fast enough? When I tell y'all I hollered, 10 points for Candiace. Candiace tells Gizelle, you are not searching my room. Gizelle then yells at production saying, can someone search her room? Like, she's being a total bitch right now, and I really hope someone hits her over the head with the bottle of Clase Azul. Candiace has had enough at this point. She tells Gizelle, I am not a thief, and they start yelling at each other. Meanwhile, Pepsi is literally on the floor crying. We see him in the confessional, and he's upset because he feels like this all falls on him. I feel really bad for Pepsi. They got him crying. Like I said, like, he was so joyful in the beginning of the episode. I can only hope that he was significantly compensated for dealing with those women for 7 days. Gizelle ain't shit for causing all of this. We cut to them still going back and forth as the credits are rolling. Gizelle is telling Candiace to prove that she isn't a thief and calling her suspect number 1, while Candiace is calling her a green hoe and a Karen. And that is where the episode ends. Jesus. Seriously, someone needs to put a stop to Gizelle. I don't want to see her or Candiace or anybody from Potomac for that matter until 2024. And I mean it. With that said, y'all let me know what y'all thought about the episode. Y'all let me know who you think stole the tequila bottle or what happened to it. We only have 2 episodes left. Episode 6 that premiered today, as well as next week, episode 7. And that's it. They feel so short. But, you know, I think we have Ultimate Girls Trip 4 that's going to premiere in the fall. But yeah, make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see y'all for the next episode. Bye.